Acts 1 to the end, which is at 26. So I I I asked GPT who wrote this, and I think it was Luke, because he was kind of like compiling it for this person called Theophilus, and it said that that is similar to his other book about this, addressing someone that he's compiling these information for. So he first talked about how Jesus commanded the disciples not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for the Holy Spirit to come. And then when the Holy Spirit has come, to be witnesses in both Jerusalem and all Judea, Samaria, and as far as the remotest part of the earth, so the Great Commission. Then Jesus ascended, and then they just stood there and then looking at the sky, and then the angel came to pretty much tell them to return and go and do the Great Commission. Let's see. Why are you standing and looking at the sky? This Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come in the same way as you have watched him go into heaven. So he will descend instead of ascend the second time he come. So then there were 11 disciples left, and then they then wanted to they felt led to add another one who is going to be a witness to replace Judas, who betrayed Jesus. And it described in graphic like how Judas died. So they wanted so there were the 12, the closest to Jesus, and then there are men who have accompanied them all of that time. And then beginning with the baptism of John until the day that he was taken up from us. And then so they chose one of them to be a witness. And okay, so I kind of got distracted by this one. So because Judas betrayed Jesus, and then they kind of like had another apostle, or another witness apostle filled in. They cast lot for this, but what kind of got me distracted was that I went and I searched up where these two verses came from, and it seems like they were from Psalm, but they're not in the same chapter, although it was thematically linked. David was betrayed, and so they said that the betrayer's place will become desolate, and then later on another person will take his office. And so Jesus in here was betrayed and by Judas, and so Peter, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, kind of drew from the lesson of history and then applied it. And so he then believed that another person should take the place of Judas. And so at first I was like, is that taking things out of context and kind of like mushing two ideas together? But when I read GPT's response, it made a lot of sense to me that when you see a pattern, or like what happened to that person can be applied here, it's in the same situation. And then I took it a little bit further because I was in a trial, and I kind of realized that when I read this, I kind of remember back to the trial and how there were 12 jurors chosen, but then there was some kind of like extra jurors in case one of the jurors like didn't make it or had to be dismissed for some reason. And then there are people who can be filled in, and I think that I mean, it's kind of like following what Peter did here, and Peter was following what David wrote in the Psalm. So it all made sense, like when viewed through that lens. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And so that was what kind of got me distracted. And then, so in the end, Matthias was the person that was added to the 11 apostles, so that we still have an office of 12 disciples who are witnesses to Jesus from everything from the beginning of his baptism to when he ascended, to the resurrection, beginning to the day he was taken up. Yeah, not only to the resurrection, but the ascension. So they're all witnesses.